Hi, I'm Alana. Welcome to another video. In today's video, we're doing a get ready with me for church. So today I would like to start with a book recommendation. The book that I'm recommending today is called A Fracture of Light and Shadow by S.J. Brand. So you can get this book on Amazon, and it's about this like magical land where there are all these like witches and elves, and everyone is involved in like witchcraft, and there are like different lands, and there are different like kinds of witches, and there are different kinds of elves, and it's about this girl who was like raised by witches, and then she's like arranged to be married to this guy, and so she's like figuring out like how she feels about that. And yeah, it's really good. I guess it would be like a fantasy book. And so Fracture of Light and Shadow by S.J. Brand, you can get it on Amazon. I went on Saturday night, I went to an event called Learning to Love with Alain de Botton. If you know me, you know that he's one of my favorite authors, and I've met him in his live form. I met him in person. In his live form, I talked to him, to his face. I talked to his face, and I got a photo with him, and I was like, hi. I loved Essays in Love, and I told him how much I loved his book, Essays in Love, and it was an extraordinary experience. And so, yeah, he delivered this talk about learning to love, and he talked about like how in this like post-religious age, people call their lovers baby or angel, and like what happens when we bring angels down to earth, because angels are meant to be perfect. So like what happens when an angel disappoints you? And he talked about how like art has taken the place of religion, and the place of yearning has also been demoted with the decline of religion. He mentioned that until the Victorian age, Romeo and Juliet were just seen as like a psychotic couple. It was just like a story about a psychotic couple, until Romanticism fundamentally altered our relationship to love. So previously you didn't need to love your partner. It was just like you married them because they had a cow, and that was a lot easier because it was like, you know, you didn't need to love them. So love could kind of just come, but it wasn't necessary. And he talked about how like to the romantics, you shouldn't need to speak with your soulmate. They should just like understand you wordlessly, perfectly. And so that gives rise to like an epidemic of sulking, because like they ask you, are you okay? And you say, I'm fine, because you're just like so embarrassed that you should even have to talk at all. Because if they're your soulmate, you should just like, they should understand you perfectly and wordlessly, and you shouldn't have to like explain how you feel, which is obviously like entirely unrealistic. And so yeah, he said that idea gives rise to an epidemic of sulking. And he shared a story of how like his son, when his son was younger, if he was like upset or feeling big feelings, he would say to Alain and his wife Charlotte, he would say, get it, and they would be like, what? And he'd be like, get it, meaning like understand my feelings and fix them. And Alain said they had to explain to him that like, we can't just get it. Like you need to explain, like, you need to express yourself to us and like communicate to us how you are feeling for us to be able to get it. And I thought that was a really cute story. And then he also told a story of how he was at a hotel one time on holidays, and he saw this like child who was like having a tantrum and like screaming and crying, and the child's mother said, you're having fun. We're on holidays, and this cost a lot of money. And he uses that example to talk about how like a lot of the time parents don't have like the capacity for their child's anxiety. And so he said that like therapy is meant to kind of like help make up for what your parents lacked, or like it's meant to help make up for like the lack of love. And he also mentioned that in the modern age, following breakups, each person often goes to their friends and says, oh, they were trying to change me. And then their friend will say, oh my gosh, that's so controlling. But the ancient Greeks actually believed that you should like want to help each other grow and change and like become better. And yeah, Alain also mentioned that on a first date, the best thing that you should ask, which I have actually on his advice asked on first dates before, is you should ask, how are you mad? Because everyone is mad. And so he suggests that might be the most constructive question to ask on a first date. And so, thank you for getting ready with me for church. You're beautiful, you're perfect, I love you, God bless you, goodbye.